And good evening, I'm Marty Olsen, and welcome to City Focus. And I'm delighted to welcome back an old, lifelong friend of the community, Craig Parker, retired head basketball coach at New London High School, and glad to have you back.
Oh, happy to be here, Marty.
Yeah, well, you've always been a good guest. I had Juan on a couple of weeks ago. As I'm going through my mental Rolodex, says, who would make a good guest? God, that Chop would make a good guest, so let's give Chop a call. So I want to thank you for carving out an hour to spend here on the air. Well, over recent weeks, we have lost two iconic coaches in New London at the high school level, Gil Vargas and Jim Bunicor. And we both played for both of those guys in different capacities. And I don't know if you have any thoughts or reflections on these gentlemen that served a heck of a long time.
Well, I'll start with Coach Vaj. Coach Vaj was our defensive coach when I played in high school. And also, was one of our physical education teachers at the high school. He was at that time he was a young and upcoming coach. One thing I always liked about the characteristic I always liked about Coach Hodges was he was basically a straight shooter. You knew where you stood with Coach Vaj. There wasn't any like middle ground. He would tell you exactly the expectations and I always respected that about him. And we inducted him into our City of New London Athletic Hall of Fame some years back. And, we would see him over the years at the Connecticut Sun games and things like that. Yeah, he was a good coach. He was a good person. And then, our sophomore year, Coach Bunicor came in, took over the helm, as our head football coach. And what I recall about Coach Bunicor is, he was always gave you an opportunity. Always gave you an opportunity. I remember I was playing primarily a defensive end my first 2 years in high school, through my freshman sophomore year, and dabbled with offensive end. And I talked to him after my sophomore year, and after the season, I told him I'd like to try to be a defensive back. Mm-hmm. And he had no issues with that. I came in and, had a nice little career as a defensive back. And, he was certainly a good coach, knew how to motivate you and things like that, And so, they were two iconic coaches at New London, no question.
Yeah, well, he was green and gold all the way through, that's for sure.
No doubt.
He interned at Fitch in Norwich before he...
Oh. Well, that's right. I remember our freshman year, he was an assistant coach at NFA. I don't remember him at Fitch. But
I don't remember at Fitch either.
No,
but I saw that in his obituary.
Right. Yeah. Then he came. Well, I think the head coach at that time was a New London guy.
Jim Giordano.
And Buni was his assistant coach.
He ended up as a principal at New London High School.
Right, exactly.
That's right. After Mr. Foy.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, well, there was certainly quite a crowd last evening at the calling hours up at Nealon's. And I had a chance to say hello to a few folks that you don't necessarily rub elbows with very frequently. And you went to the service this morning.
I did.
I was here. It was big crowd?
At St. Joe's. Yeah, well, it was a good-sized crowd, yeah. Good-sized crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, as we were saying off air before we came on, out of our group, not necessarily our class, but I saw Reggie Wheeler and Richie Foy, and they were both a couple of years ahead of us. And I don't recall seeing anybody in our class, at least while I was there.
Right, right.
That doesn't mean that there wasn't somebody
Right.
here before or after. I mean, Jimmy Lewis was coming out, and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Tim Reardon.
Yeah, I sat with Tom Major and his brother Sam, who also played football
Okay.
in London. I sat with the two of them, yeah.
So, but it was quite a large gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vargas's was not quite so well attended. I don't know why, but the current baseball coach, I mean, Gil was the head baseball coach at New London for a long time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But the young man, Matt Green, who was the judge, Matt Green's son, is the current baseball coach, and he had his entire team show up at the calling hours in baseball uniform.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah,
Kind of,
nice.
passing
Yeah.
of the torch, and just
Oh,
to have a
yeah,
little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
of respect, and it's a nice touch.
Yeah. Well, as I get older, all my high school coaches, head coaches, have now passed on. Coach Municore, Coach Risley, boys basketball. I went to his service a few years ago up in Wyndham, and of course, and Mike Pinella, who was an assistant coach.
Did you play for him when he was head coach?
No. He came in the year after we graduated. And Coach Bob Regan, I went to his service some years back. He was the head coach through my first 2 years in boys basketball at London. Yeah.
It's kind of how you got to wrap our head around the fact that we're in our 70s now.
Yeah.
The coaches aren't the same age we are. They're a little bit older.
Yeah.
But
No question.
But the coaches, and I think this is an important thing, and I mean, you've had an extended career on the bench, I should say, with basketball at Nona High School, that and you touch the lives of an awful lot of young men, and the impact that a coach can have on these young people as they're in high school and beyond.
Yeah,
And
no question. One of our former great players, of course, two young men that I'm aware of have passed on since I was head coach. Ronaldo Gooseby, some years back, and Rob Sanders, within recent memory. Rob was a player at Providence College, and just recently a former great player at New London, and one of the all-time greats, Alan Cheney, just, unfortunately suffered a stroke. His career was cut short in college due to a heart condition. And
he started in Florida.
Oh, yeah, he was on track
and he had
to
just
probably
won back-to-back national titles. I mean, just to be recruited by a program like that,
yeah,
it speaks volumes.
Back-to-back. Yeah, he was on track to, in all probability, to be an NBA player. Yeah, no question. He's doing better now. He's home now, and stuff. But he's an all-time great. No question about it.
Well, we've had a number of terrific ball players that have passed through New London.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's kind of funny. I remember, and he's older than us. It was Johnny Ellis. And he was a terrific football player in high school. He ended up being a professional baseball player, but I never saw him play baseball as a youth. So, I mean, I only knew him as he had hit the big time. But I remember him playing as, I believe, a fullback.
John Ellis was a different type of person, man. I remember we used to go over to the sub base. It was probably in high school, and a friend of mine. His father was in the Navy, and we could go over there and play basketball in the gym. And it was during the off season from his Yankee days, and he would be in there working out and then come out and play basketball. I mean, he only knew how to play one way, man. That was rough and tough, even on the basketball court.
He's a rugged guy.
You want to sort of try to stay away from him.
His younger brother David played with us.
Yeah,
and he was a defensive end, and he was rugged.
No question.
If we defend you run into him and give you a forearm and knock your head off.
Tom Major and Ellis linebackers. Yeah, that's a tough pair.
Well, thinking back to the gentleman that we've been speaking about, you've had a long career in coaching. I mean, at what point did you kind of know that you wanted to be a coach? I mean, and you did a little bit of assistant interning with Rajai, right?
Yeah, but my first introduction to coaching was in the New London Preteen Basketball League, probably in the mid-'80s. That's the 9 through 12-year-old boys. And the person that really sort of stroked my interest in starting to work with young people in coaching was Reggie Wheeler at the time, Tyson's dad. He was the initial person. And then that, through some transgressions, just evolved into, becoming the assistant coach, at New London High School under Coach Ruggiero for 6 or 7 years before I was named the head coach in the 95 season. Yeah. Yeah, so
and when Ralph decided to step down, and that was his call. I mean,
Ralph retired, and Jimmy O'Neill, who was the athletic director at the time, recommended me to become, the head coach, and obviously that was approved, and Jimmy O'Neill was my first AD, and really good AD. As you know, Jimmy O'Neill has a way
I've
with
known
words.
Jim as long as you have.
Yeah, very intelligent, supportive of his coaches. And could put the foot down if he had to with his coaches. But he was fair and carried himself, very well. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy O'Neill, he was a good one. I had some good ADs over the years. I mean, I coached at New London long enough to probably see, 10 to 12 athletic directors I experienced. And, Jimmy O'Neill was one of the best. Leo Ficini, we developed into, when he was AD, we developed into having a nice relationship. At first, it was a little testy, and
he was a Waterford guy who went to St. Bernard's. He was not a New London guy.
Yeah, but we to this day we have a nice relationship, Leo and myself, Leo Ficini, and there was just some of them. I mean, I had a bunch. No question. I saw a lot of principals come through the school.
I bet you did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, a big turnover.
Oh, you were a rock.
Yeah. Long time.
Do you miss coaching?
No, I don't. I wasn't gonna be around long anyway. I was getting ready to retire. Like Savon Warren and Boo Boo Phillips, who are now seniors. They just had their last season. I wasn't. My intention wasn't even to see them through, even though they came in as freshmen as nice players, and I was there through my sophomore year. But I wasn't planning on I wasn't planning on staying the whole time with them.
You stayed longer than what you initially thought you would have?
Oh,
and were you expecting
probably by 28 years. I tell people my initial thing was, okay, I got named head coach. Okay, I'll do it for a year and just to see if I could do it and to say I did it. That was actually my thought. But then it just, and then in the early 2000s, I seriously considered leaving. But I said, I'm going to stick around, and and the years went by.
Well, you've had some very talented young men come across, play on your teams, and
well, we've had some. Yeah,
You
Had
mentioned
some
Cheney, but I
outstanding
mean, we've got Chris Dunn, you've got Tyson Wheeler.
Well, yeah, I was assistant under Tyson. I was assistant when Tyson was there. And there's always a really great player in London who I always fail to mention, and I don't know why, is Torrin Charles Harris.
Yeah.
You know, Torrin was a great player at New London. You know, went to St. Thomas More, ended up Division I, was a senior on the 2011 undefeated #1 team in the state. He was a senior on that team, and every time I sit down and talk about the kids, I always forget about Torrin. But you know, he's one of the all-time greats. New Haven Register, two-time All-State player. He and Chris Dunn formed a formidable backcourt. I mean, it's one of the best backcourts in the state of Connecticut's history, without a question. Chris Dunn and Torrin. I mean, they scored well over, probably, I don't know, 3,500 points as teammates, if not more. Torrin and him were just complemented each other well, in the sense that Torrin was a different type of player than Chris. Chris was your, just your energy guy, nonstop, which he continues to do right now. I watched Chris playing out here in the playoffs, starting off for the LA Clippers.
Now, is he starting? I haven't seen him.
Oh no, he starts, and I still see a guy, a kid that just, boom, ball goes over there. He's hustling back to try to find somebody to guard and defend, and the same way he was in high school.
He plays with some high-powered guys.
Oh, right now he is. Yeah. Oh yeah. He's on a good team.
He's with that left-handed guy with the big beard there.
Yeah.
And then was it Leonard that plays with that team?
Yeah, they got a nice team. They have a nice team. Yeah, nice coach.
When he got hurt back, I think it was with Chicago or Minnesota, one of the two, and he got cut basically. I was the fact that he's back in the league is a miracle.
Oh yeah, well he had to do a stint in. Like I say, a Minnesota paper called me up for an interview when he was drafted by the Timberwolves going into his rookie year. And one of the comments I recall making to them is, Chris Dunn has the ability to last. Meaning he'll have a long career, and he's done that. He had a stint where he had to come back from the G League. He never gave up. And now he's a starter on a very good team, and probably should be on one of these all-defensive teams that are going to be announced soon. Oh yeah, he's that good defensively. And
the sad thing is, you wouldn't know any of this reading our local paper. They don't cover him.
Right. The day has never really. They've never really done a whole lot for Chris Dunn. I mean, I'm just being perfectly honest, for whatever reason. No doubt about it. I don't know what that's
There's
all
so
about.
few locals that make the show, whether it's in London or even just the region, that you think that the local paper would give them a little bit of a shine.
Yeah, I know. Once in a while, right? Yeah.
Well, that's a good report, and quite frankly, I haven't paid that much attention, but maybe I need to tune in to the Clippers. You think they have an opportunity to come out of the West, or is that overreaching?
Well, no, it isn't. But now they're down 3-2 to Denver. They lost last night, and they've definitely squandered a few games. I thought they could have won. And maybe this series could have been over by now with them advancing. But now they got to go home, Game 6, and then, if they win, they have to go back to Denver, Game 7, which will obviously be a tough environment.
Yeah, well, their big guy is a tough player.
Oh, the center's not a bad player. I like him. Zubek or something. Yeah, he's a nice player. They're a nice team. No question.
Well, that's. Saunders seemed to have professional talent. I saw him play 2 or 3 times at Providence. The guy could jump out of the gym. I mean, he was just...
I once talked to his former coach, Coach Welch, I believe. Coach Welch some years later. He had been Rob's head coach at Providence. Yep. And of course, Rob didn't play his senior year for whatever reason. But anyway, I had conversation with Coach Welch. They were recruiting Alan Cheney. He came down to our gym a few times, to our practices. And, he told me that Rob Sanders was in fact on the NBA radar. That's the way he worded it. Rob Sanders was on the NBA radar. But, whatever happened up there happened, I don't know. I can't really comment on that. But Rob held the school record for points in the game at one point at New London with 50. And I believe in that game, I think he had like six 3-pointers in that game. He had I think 6. Yeah, he had a 50-point night. Rob was a great player. Great player, like you say, jump out the gym. He was a really, really good player. So we, like you say, we just had really, really good players over the years. From my first year right up until basically when I left with Savon Warren and Boo Boo Phillips and those guys, man, as sophomores, they were good players.
Yeah. Any of the guys you had that at the high school level were, at least when they entered high school, were maybe good to average high school players that blossomed as they moved up the ladder and were able to compete at the next level, whether it be D3, 2, or 1?
That's an interesting question. Trying to think if anyone stood out in that regard. Marty, I don't know. That's a tough question because we've had quite a few players play at the collegiate level, but I'm trying to think any specific players that when they entered high school that I would have said no way could they play in college. I don't know. No one comes to mind.
I just thought I'd inquire.
Yeah. I'm sure there is.
I think some of our guys, and this is just a personal observation, and it's not just in basketball. I think some of our athletes in general, they kind of, I won't say disparage, but they're not interested in playing at D3 level, let's say. And I go to enough D3 athletics, whether it's baseball, basketball, and occasional football. And these young men that are playing these D3 are good. And I've seen you, we're up at Conn College or Coast Guard watching, and a lot of good squads come through here.
Yeah, no, D3 is, you still have to be a good player to play D3. And as I've said before, Conn College's league is one of the top D3. To play in that league, you have to be a pretty good player. You have to be a pretty good player. That's a tough league they play in. Probably one of the best D3 conferences in the entire country. But yeah,
it's a strong academic league as well.
Yeah, it's strong academic. But you have to be a player. I mean, I've seen kids right here now. Some of my former players at D3 schools and around here, and they're not even playing there. They're not playing there. It might be on the roster, but they're not on the court. Well,
so I think there was one guy that was on a relatively recent New London squad who ended up at St. Thomas, and he's been on the Mitchell bench.
Right, exactly. And you bring up something interesting. And I've said this before. If you're at least if you're a Division III player going into prep school and a Division III player coming out, if you follow, why go? Why waste your money? Why waste your money? Some kids are just going to be Division III players. even so, why go to prep school? Why waste your money? And I've seen it happen with a few young men. You know, you're a division, and there's no shame in that. There's no shame, as we're talking about. There's no shame in being a Division III player. But you know, you have to.
Well, at some point, the players got to recognize that they're not going to be the next Michael Jordan, or they're not going to be in the NBA, and that they're going to have to be. One guy, and it just goes back to 25 years. He played for Glenn Miller at Conn. Was Stallings. Yeah. He goes to Conn, gets a great education, played basketball, and he's doing well.
Yeah, Dwayne's doing quite well. Yeah.
You look at the guy. I mean, from humble origins, and he's done.
Dwayne Stallings was my first captain at New London. I had one captain my very first year in '95, and state championship team, and he was the captain. You know, he was a senior that year, and Dwayne sacrificed for us. Dwayne could shoot the ball pretty well from the outside. Mid-range, step out, hit a three. Because he went up to Conn and at some point, I think he was their all-time leading three-point scorer up there, Dwayne Stallings. But, we just needed Dwayne to play more or less in the paint for us. And, and he sacrificed and he did that. But, what was good about him, he could step out a little bit. He could handle the ball. And that played, when we upset Trinity Catholic in '95, that played a pivotal role in our scheme of things, because our starting center, which he was classified as, he went out there and could handle the ball, probably just as good as any of our other players on the court, which was a big plus in that game for us, a real big plus. But like you say, he went to Conn. He's doing very well right now, and he's on the board of directors up there, I believe, at the college. And Dwayne has done well for himself.
Yeah. And Miller had that squad get to the Final Four in D3.
Yeah, yes, he did. Yeah.
A squad that before Miller had really been rather nondescript, and Miller whipped him into a top-flight program.
Oh yeah, no question.
And he's doing a good job, Miller, that is, in St. Joe's up in West Hartford now.
Yeah, well, he knows what he's doing. He's a good coach. He knows what he's doing.
You need players, too.
You need players. No question about it.
Folks, you're watching City Focus, and I'm Marty Olsen, your host. I'm joined by Craig Parker, former head basketball coach at New London High School. And we are live. And if you'd like to call in and join the program, we'd love to have you. The number's on the screen, 860-445-7499. We'd love to hear from you. Now, just to shift gears a taste, now, your wife's been a coach for softball, volleyball. I think she did 1 year of basketball at New London High as an assistant.
Yes, 1 or 2 years, yeah.
And so, I mean, coaching seems to be part of your family tree.
Yeah, she no longer she gave up the softball job this year. So, but I think she plans on going back to be the volleyball coach. I'm not 100%, but I haven't heard her say where she's retiring from that. That I don't know for 100%. But softball, she's not doing that this season. She did a good job up there over the years with the talent and the skill set of the players that she had at New London, which it's no secret. It's Marty, that brings up another thing. I think New London should consider, the high school should consider going more of an independent schedule in athletics. I think it would be more beneficial especially for our girl programs. Just playing schools like maybe more tech schools, other urban type schools and things of that nature.
Yep.
I think they'd have greater success in things like that. The ECC, I think for the most part, is just it's just not a competitive league for female athletics at New London. And and you can sort of look at the boys programs at New London now. I mean, they don't really do that well. I mean, the football team is so-so. Baseball is so-so at best for a while. Track, I mean, they hardly get any kids to even compete in track. I mean, I don't see what's wrong with maybe exploring the possibility of just withdrawing from the ECC. Now, having said that, I think New London football should always keep the rivalry going with Norwich Free Academy, just based on the historical significance of the game. But I mean, what is the ECC? I mean, just look at girls' sports. I mean, basketball was always, up until maybe 10 years ago, really, other than a spot here or there, a year here or there, they were always just bottom feeders in the league. And who knows?
You're speaking about the girls.
Yes,
yeah.
And who knows how long, I mean, this year they were okay. Who knows how long that's going to continue for them to have success. You can maybe start seeing a drop off.
And with the way kids are moving, I mean, New London lost their best player to a prep school.
Yeah.
With the girls' team, the Lancaster club.
Yeah.
That's a big hit.
Yeah, I went up to watch her play her first game. Well, I think it was her first game. Yeah, I went to a game.
It's not like it was when 50 years ago when we were coming through. I mean, you played where you lived.
Yeah. No,
it's kind of locked in.
No, it's just a different thing now. But I think it's worth considering, because they could just. I mean, there's a lot of things. The state of Connecticut could maybe needs to start looking at the CIAC in terms of basketball, boys basketball. They need to start looking at maybe having a division where it's primarily tech schools and maybe some of the smaller schools like the schools like Putnam and Wheeler High School competing in the state tournament against each other. Because, some of these tech schools, they come into the state tournament, they're 18-2, 19-1, and they lose to a 31 or 32 seed. But the point about that is that doesn't shock anybody. Because they really know that, these tech schools, they're probably not that good. I mean, so they need to really start trying to get more balance and more of a competitive nature on the CIAC, and maybe just start putting schools in certain types of schools competing against each other in terms of boys basketball. I think they need to consider things like that. And like I say, I think New London needs to consider leaving the ECC and maybe going a more independent schedule. They could fill out the schedule.
You think so?
I
know. And I haven't in a few years, but there was a few years ago. I had the time to attend the high school baseball and some softball games. And in both instances, and Missy's teams in particular, I mean, she did not have necessarily the best talent.
No,
the kids were working hard,
yeah.
And. I think, as noted at the softball level, I mean, if you got a terrific pitcher, it gives you a tremendous advantage. And London never seemed to have that pitcher.
They were, well, my daughter was a decent pitcher.
Yeah.
She was a decent pitcher for New London. And they were all set, unfortunately COVID hit, they were probably all set to have their best softball season in years. The two Potter girls were still there. They were good players. My daughter was there, and they had a good shortstop. I can't recall her name. They were going to have a good, as far as New London softball goes, they were going to have a good team. But COVID hit, and it wiped out the whole year. Because they weren't too bad the year before that, and most of the players were coming back. But then the Potter girls and these other girls graduated, and then after that, it was, I mean. Yeah, it's something they need to consider, because our girls just cannot compete, other than girls basketball, like right now. But again, I think you might see some drop off there in the very near future.
Yeah.
I
Well,
hope I'm
the
wrong,
coach
but-
is a.
I hope I'm wrong, but-
she's a tough, and some of the girls.
I won't comment on that. Yeah, I won't comment. But I mean, yeah, they need it. It's just food for thought. It's just food for thought. I just like to see our girls have a better shot of enjoying some success. You know, at a decent level.
When it comes to softball in particular, I mean, I don't think that New London has got a strong youth program for softball.
Does it even exist? I mean, I'm not sure.
I think there may be, at the Little League level, there may be one or two teams.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if that even still exists. And then again, here's the whole thing with softball. If you don't have a pitcher, you're not going to be successful. You have to have the pitcher. I mean, that pitcher can pitch every game. You have to have a pitcher in softball. I mean, who's developing the young pitchers in New London to come up and be somewhat successful at that? I don't know if it's happening. That's the whole point.
Yeah,
It doesn't act. I don't think it's happened. You know, we sent our daughter to a pitching coach. One of the Potter girls was going to the same pitching coach, and you know, and they were both decent pitchers in high school. You know, but they had a pitching coach, and you know, and that's what it takes. You know, that's what it takes. Yeah. And I don't think that's happening in New London. You know, it's not. It's just not happening.
What do you think of some of the changes that are happening at the collegiate level that may shift their way down to the high school level with this NIL, the transfer portal, and the movement of players? Is this good for athletics or the players or the institutions that the players are representing?
Well, it's really not for me to say because young people are having an opportunity to take advantage of their skills and their name, and they're capitalizing on that by being able to, you know, get paid, essentially. There's a girl, I believe I was reading a story, a girl coming out of high school in Texas, and she was telling schools, you know, basically it's going to take $1.5 million to have me attend your college to play basketball. I mean, coming out of high school with that demand, but making it known. So I mean, I think what needs to happen is, especially the transfer portal issue, they need to wait till like for basketball, they need to wait till the season is over, like March Madness, before that mess is going. You know, they need to just put some, you know, time limit on it, when it starts and when it ends, and you know, that might be something they might want to look at. But I don't think it's going to change as far as the athletes having an opportunity to.
Well, for the women at the collegiate level, I mean, you know, I think that the incentive is actually more for the women to stay in school because they can make more money with the NIL
no doubt.
than they can go into the WNBA.
No question. No question. I mean, Paige could have come back this year, you know, if she chose to. And imagine if she had chose to come. I would have enjoyed that. Paige is, I love Paige.
But I think it's changed the dynamic and the thinking. I think some of the...
Oh, yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
mean, I think that for coaches, and I'm an old school kind of guy, and I see this stuff and I kind of...
Yeah.
But I look at the Villanova basketball coach there, Jay Wright. You know, he retired when this stuff was just kind of starting to get in. So and I may be off base, but the impression is, you know what, I've had it.
Well, that seemed to be the coach with, what was that, Saban at Alabama?
Yeah.
I think he was, you know, sort of along the same lines this time. You know, He's old school. He didn't want.
But these are two coaches that have had extraordinary
Oh
success.
yeah, no doubt. But they just didn't want to deal with all the uncertainty and. Someone told me Rick Pitino said, I don't know if it's true or not, I did not read the article. Rick Pitino was basically saying he's not even bothering to recruit high school players.
Just
For
transfers?
St. John's, just transfers and portal kids. Yeah, I heard that from a few people. So yeah, it's a whole different.
Well, but you know what? That may be the way to go.
Yeah, no question. Oh, no question. Yeah,
this past season, Rutgers had 2 McDonald's All-Americans on there, and they didn't. Things didn't. They didn't mesh very well.
High draft picks. High draft picks.
They were good. They may be good pros, but they didn't make for a good college team.
Yeah.
Well, your son CJ has moved into his first head coaching job, correct, this past season?
Yes, CJ is a proud dad now. Missy and myself are proud grandparents. CJ recently had a little girl a few weeks back, and so he's enjoying being a dad, of a newborn. But so CJ moved into at Fitch High School girls. First year there, so I had something to do during the winter, to go watch his games, and gave him a lot of support, and he did a nice job over there, he did a nice job. They made the state tournament, and they were young. They started, I think, 4 sophomores, I believe.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and. So, hopefully, things can continue, he can continue to make progress over there, and he's currently coaching.
So he's planning to return there this coming season?
As far as I know.
Did he enjoy coaching the girls?
Oh, yeah, he's coached girls before, yeah. He used to be assistant girls coach at New London and stuff before. He was assistant girls coach. He's been involved with the girls for a while. He actually started a AAU program this year for girls. CJ and I believe Dev Williams' dad, the kid that played at New London, they started an AAU program, and actually they were just in Pennsylvania this past weekend in their first tournament. Yeah.
Do you see him carving out a career in women's basketball?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where his coaching journey is going to take him. I don't know. He could do. It wouldn't matter. Girls,
he can do
boys.
whatever he wants. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Academically, he's just on top of his game.
Yeah, no, he could coach either sport. He knows the game. He comes up with his own drills and things of that nature. Someone told me, a coach told me, they saw CJ, the coach just shared this with me, a head coach in the area. He said that he saw CJ at a practice or something, and he said, man, it was like I was back at a 5-star basketball camp, just watching him, what he was teaching and what he was doing and stuff. I said, wow, it's a hell of a compliment.
Yeah.
And that came from a head coach in the area. Yeah. So, so I don't know where his journey's going to take him, I know right now he's totally involved with Fitch, and, and he enjoyed it. He enjoyed it.
Well, that's terrific. He's. I've watched him grow up. He's a terrific young man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Actually, your entire family is. All your kids are.
Yeah.
Young men and women.
Yeah.
Done a good job there, Coach.
Oh, thank you. Don't hear that too often. Thank you.
Well, it's. You don't go into coaching at the high school level looking for kudos. You go
Yeah. Not in this town. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Question about it.
Well, New London's got an opening for a football coach. Maybe you could apply for that.
Man.
This gentleman,
I
Sanchez, he lasted 2 years.
I didn't know if he would last that long. I see New London just being a tough place to coach football now. I just with the makeup of the student body and things of that nature, and it's tough. Whoever gets that job, it's not an easy job. It just isn't. Just to get a commitment from the kids and a decent number. Remember, we were in high school. We had about 80 kids.
Yeah.
Buny used to have to put up a list on Thursday or Friday or Sunday who's going to get a uniform. You know, and they dressed 50 kids for a home game. But they'd have to put a list up because there were so many kids. But I mean, those days obviously are long gone.
I mean, when we played, we had a varsity, we ran a JV squad and a freshman squad.
Team. Oh yeah, no question. But New London's a tough job, man. Whoever gets that job, man, I wish them the best. But I tell you, it's going to be. You're up against it to turn it around. New London is just not the same school that it was in terms of athletics. It's just not the same school. As I've said to you before, I said New London was at its best when you had black and white kids playing together at New London. You know, and those days are gone. You know, those days are gone.
Not that many white kids in the school.
Right, for whatever reason. Those days are gone. That's when New London was
and that's
best.
something that somebody pointed out to me, and I hadn't even noticed it before. But the '68 team that Bob Weiss had, which was a powerhouse.
Yeah, no question.
But the makeup of the squad was about 50-50 in that, and it made for a well-balanced, a team that was well respected. People got to.
Bob Weiss, you have to give him credit. Coach Weiss came to New London, and prior to him being the head football coach there were not a lot of minority kids playing football at New London. He turned that around, and Gil Vargas was a young man assistant underneath him. Coach Vargas was there before we even got to high school. And he was on his staff, I believe. And but Weiss is primarily responsible for that. And then with the minority participation in football, basketball, whatever, it just took off after. And I would say that's probably going back to around 67-ish, 67-ish season. Kirk Talley senior year, Bobby Long, those guys.
67, Weiss had a good squad. I think they finished 7-3, and they lost to New Britain down there in the goal line.
They finished 7-2. 7-2. They played 9 games, and they lost to a Hartford Weaver team up at Weaver. I was at that game. I was in 8th grade then or something. I went up to that game, and no one had scored on Weaver, and New London's playing them. New London at the time has 1 loss. And New London's playing them maybe at 6-1, Weaver 7-0. No one had scored a point on that Weaver team, and I believe it was Jim Gittins. He caught a pass, and it looked like he was going to go in to score. And the score, I don't know what scored the game then, but it was close. But I don't know. I remember Jim looking back, and the Weaver kid caught a man at like the 5-yard line and knocked him down. And New London didn't even end up scoring that game. I think they lost 30-0. Matter of fact, the only point scored on that Weaver team that year was NFA. I think the NFA field goal kicker was also their quarterback, Jake Kabowski.
Yeah.
I think he got a field goal against them. 3 points the entire year. I mean, that's impressive. And that was in the CDC, which was a really good league.
But you look at it now. Weaver has gone through all different kinds of remaking and reimaging, and You talk about going out of conference now. Weaver played in the ECC in football. I don't know if it was this year, but they certainly did the year before. 'Cause
They lost to old Lyme in basketball, or Hartford Public did this year. I mean, the inner city schools. I mean, you can just look at it. The inner city schools in basketball, in Bridgeport, in Hartford in particular. I mean, they are not good. They're not good. It's like lack of participation. It's like all these different types of schools that just pop up, seem like overnight with all these strange names.
You've got these
and they
magnet
just
schools
take all these
popping
kids.
up.
Oh yeah, and kids go to preps, whatever. Hartford Weaver in public used to be. I mean, they were state powerhouses in football and basketball. They're losing to schools like Old Lyme now, but Old Lyme isn't playing. You know, the real Hartford Public teams, obviously.
No.
I hope they're not under any illusion out there.
I saw Old Lyme play up at the casino at the state title game. They lost to some Catholic school out of Middletown.
Yeah.
But one of the key players for Old Lyme was a freshman tiny little kid, like 5'2".
Oh, yeah,
but he's heaving them up from 3-point land.
I saw him play against Griswold Tech. And he was making big shots against Grasso. I said, man, someone from Grasso just needs to go block the ball, man. Block his shot. Just get out near him and put their hand up. He won't even be able to shoot. Yeah. My goodness.
But, well, things don't stay the same, that's for sure.
No, by any stretch. But, again, there's a type of schools New London could play. The girls play the Weavers, play the Public somehow, get a game or two with them. The Bridgeport schools, the New Haven schools, like Amistad and the public schools. Some of Tech schools, you can always get games with Grasso, Norwich Tech locally. They could fill out a competitive. What would be competitive for them, you know?
I remember a few years ago when the college, St. Joseph's, that we were talking about earlier up in West Hartford, they were recruiting somebody from Prince Tech, because you guys were playing Prince Tech.
Oh, yeah.
And Calhoun and Miller were in our gym.
Oh, yeah.
Looking the kids over. So that was kind of fun.
Oh,
I'm being paged here, guys. This is bad form on my part.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness. But, Coach, I want to thank you for carving out an hour and spending it here on the set. And we'll have you back on soon. You're always fun to talk to.
No
and we ought to get some of the other old-timers out here. We could have a little bit of a...
get a round table.
A little reunion going here.
Yeah, no question.
Well, it sounds good. Well, listen, thank you.
Thank you,
We'll catch up with you next week. We'll be back with the City Focus. Tune in. But for now, good night.
Guys, get up.